Good evening. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting for Tuesday, August 18th, 2020. Ms. Gibbons, please call the roll.
Ben Ancona III. John
Here.
Bouchard. John Bouchard. Philip Block.
Sorry, I was muted here. John Bashan.
Okay, John Casasanta.
Here.
Kathleen Marie Clark. I see you, Kathy.
She's muted too.
Muted. Bernadette,
Now can you hear me?
yes.
Thanks.
Bernadette Conway.
I'm here.
Richard Leverrier. Alan Paskowitz. Andrea Sadil.
Here.
Max Turgeon.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we have a point of order here. I'm going to seat Commissioner Conway for Commissioner Paskowitz. And for Commissioner Leverrier, I have a choice of Commissioner Turgeon or Commissioner Ancona. I will seat Commissioner Ancona since he was at the last meeting when we'd be voting on that application. Is that okay, Max? So he also was he can vote for the minutes as well, Max. So
Understood.
thank you for your understandings there. Okay, let's proceed. Moving on to item 3, public participation on non-agenda items. Any speaker online can speak for 2 minutes. James, do we have anyone on the line waiting?
Nobody on the attendee side, sir.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4, acceptance of minutes from the regular meeting of July 22nd, 2020. Are there any additions or corrections from the commission? Seeing none, may I have a motion to accept the meeting minutes from the regular meeting of July 21st, 2020? You must
Yes.
unmute yourself. Moved by Commissioner Clark.
I move that we accept the minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Casasanta.
Yes, I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain. This is Bernadette Conway. I was not
That's
present.
correct. So we have 1 abstention and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yays, right? The yays are from myself, Kathleen Clark, John Casasanta, John Bouchard, and Ben Ancona.
Yes.
All right. All right, moving on to new business. There's no new business this month. Moving on to Article 6, old business application 2020-08 148 Winslow Drive for grading in the upland review area. Owner applicant Michael Pitkin, 148 Winslow Drive, Newington, Connecticut, 06111.
So,
Here.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I worked with the applicant and we developed a planting plan, which I believe James has available that he's going to put up in a minute. And we agreed on 6 different plantings of the type described on the planting list above. It's going to be a combination of those, which are all wetland friendly type of shrubs in the area that you were concerned about, Chairman Siddell. Also, I'll point out, as Commissioner Bashan pointed out last week, by leveling out that yard in the back, that would also reduce the velocity and flow off that down towards the wetland area. So I believe the applicant is available if you have any other questions.
Point of order, I see Commissioner Block is online.
Yes.
Commissioner Block. Okay. Mr. Hinckley, I think we can see Commissioner Block this evening.
Yeah, he was online earlier, correct? That's,
I don't see him now.
he's
I
there.
just-
He's just muted and he has no video feed.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Actually, looks like he just turned on the
Commissioner
video.
Block, you must unmute yourself. Excuse the,
James, can you possibly unmute Commissioner Block?
I'm attempting to at this moment.
Okay, thank you.
There he is.
Okay, am I on?
Yes.
Yes,
What?
you are.
Okay.
I see Alan Paskowitz is trying to get online as well.
He is also here, correct? But right now he has no, I don't know what he's trying to do. He has no audio feed.
It appears he's trying to dial in and connect with a computer or something else.
Okay.
Um,
On my screen, it says connecting for Alan.
Yeah, he's been hopping off and on, so I don't know what kind of problem he's having.
Response to that statement, I'm not really helping him out.
so, because now I've lost Mr. Block. I do not see Mr. Block on my screen.
I'm here.
He's there.
The windows are going to transition based upon who's speaking and what noise is there.
Yeah, but I've got the layout of everybody on the side here. I can see Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Casasanta. I see Commissioner
Yeah,
Turgeon, Conway, and Kona. Alan, I do not see. He's totally off my radar here.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, he's in, but it doesn't look like he has video.
You're
Okay.
just, no video, I assume, Commissioner Paskowitz.
I'm sorry.
You are voice only, you're not on video?
Well, I tried entering this on my PC and I wasn't fortunate enough to do that. Now on my phone.
He dialed it.
All right,
You have to excuse me, but you know, I haven't worked on this in quite a while.
It blanked out. It just
Uh,
blanked.
Commissioner, can we proceed as we seated as such?
You're on.
I know I am.
Because I see, you're in the meeting, but I don't see Commissioner Block at all, even without video. Usually everyone is on the menu here.
He's there. I see him.
I don't know. I try to,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely there.
I'm at the meeting.
All right, can you see me now?
And
This
we
is
have
Alan
Al,
Paskowitz.
we have Alan now.
What did you do?
Nothing.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to redo my
See right there?
Yeah,
order?
I know I am.
all right. Now I see him. Hold on. I see Kathleen, John, Max, the applicant. It just keeps, now I saw it blocked for a moment, then I missed him.
He's there. I'm looking at him right now.
I
Am I
can't see,
smiling?
I can't
Mostly,
see
yeah.
you at all.
All right, do we want to try and carry on?
There we go. There we go. There's 3 layers here. I see it now.
All right,
see you now.
excellent.
Do you see me, Chairman Siddell?
Yes, I see you.
And you hear me,
I
obviously.
hear you, yes.
Thank you.
Point of order, are we going to reseat people here, Mr. Hinckley? We could
That-
seat Commissioner Block.
Well,
And-
you could, he wasn't at the last meeting, so that's really up to you. And neither was Commissioner Paskovich. So again, that's,
Commissioner Conway, do you have any objection if I reseat Commissioner Paskowitz?
I do not.
Okay, all right,
Thank you.
all right. All right, let's proceed with the application, old business. Winslow Drive.
okay. So you do want me to repeat what I said
Please
earlier?
continue, please begin. I'm sorry.
Okay. So this application, as discussed at the prior meeting, there were some concerns about some plantings being wanted. So I worked with the applicant and we selected 6 different plantings that are wetland friendly that are shown on the plan before you. It's going to be a combination of those 6. And he's agreed to install those. So I believe the applicant is on the line. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free.
No, I do have nothing to add. I like the plantings that we discussed in they're in the lower right. What type of plantings were those, Mr. Pitkin?
They're on the plan there. They're the elderberry bush, royal fern, and golden fountain sedge.
Okay. Now, when is the plan to have those installed? Have those been installed already, or when is your plan to?
They have not. I've been working with the guys at Stonehenge, and they're going to tell me. They said probably late this month, early next month, because of the heat and humidity that we've had. The plants wouldn't take very well right now. So as soon as I'm able to do it, and the plants will take, then I'll plant them.
Good.
And that's a typical time frame for.
Good. I was going to ask the question. Now is a good time to do that.
Late summer, early fall, and I'm sure once that they're installed, Mr. Pitkin will let me know, and I'll just go out there and take a picture for posterity, and we'll move forward.
Correct.
The other question that I had: how are we doing cleaning out the area? There was some brush and some wood pile, and there was maybe some slabs, paving slabs in there as well. Has that been cleared away from the review area, upland review area?
Unfortunately, I threw my back out 2 weeks ago, so I haven't been able to remove that. It's getting better now, so as soon as my back's better, I will remove that from the property too. It will be removed by the time Eric comes out to see the plantings down in the back corner.
Mr. Hinckley, can we make that a condition on the permit, or how do we handle that? Obviously,
If you want that as a condition, you can certainly add it once you vote on it. We can add that as a condition and vote on it that way.
Mr. Pitkin, do you have an objection to that, or when could you put a time limit on that? Or, obviously when it has to be right away, but is there some, how you want to have that condition written? I'm willing to negotiate that.
By the end of September.
I was going to say you could probably you could probably push it into the fall if you wanted to. I know you want to get the stuff out of there, but if he's having some physical issues, you sure you want him to recover enough. Your call.
End of September, I think I'd be okay to get it out of there.
So we could put the condition by October 1st.
Okay.
I have no further questions. I will open up to the rest of the commissioners. I will try to poll slowly. Commissioner Clark, do you have any more further questions for the applicant?
I do not.
Okay. Commissioner Casasanta?
No, I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Bashant?
I'm satisfied as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Block, do you have any advice or comments for the applicant?
No, I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Ancona?
No, it sounds good. Good plan.
And lastly, Commissioner Paskowitz, do you have any, would you like to add any comments?
No, thank you. I'm satisfied as well.
All right. So, Mr. Hinckley, is the application complete?
The application is complete.
May I have a motion from Madam Secretary to introduce the motions on application 2020-08 148 Winslow Drive?
You may. I move that the permit for application number 2020-08 be granted a summary ruling based on the evidence before it, after a full review of the considerations set forth in section 10.2 to be regulated activity not involving significant or major effect on the inland wetland or watercourse as defined in section 2.1 of these regulations.
Okay. As far as the condition, we want to add a condition A on that to remove
I
all.
shall. May I ask a condition question related? I was given 10 conditions.
That's
Am
our
I
new-
adding,
Yeah,
were
we're
there
gonna,
13? Was it just 10 or should there have been more?
when we revised our regs last year, it reduced to 10.
Okay,
So-
thank you. I remember a second page. So now are we going to add that right this minute?
Yep, you can add it to the bottom.
Okay,
We'll say the construction debris in the URA shall be removed by October 1st, 2020.
okay, give me a second.
Yep.
The construction debris in the URA shall be removed by October 1st, 2020. And what was the number of that condition?
That'll just be A for now until you vote on
Okay.
it, then it'll change. So,
Got it? It says A.
sounds good to me.
Now, before we go to a vote, Commissioner Paskowitz, you feel informed enough to make a vote on this application tonight?
Yes, I do. I read the minutes from the last meeting in its entirety.
Okay. Commissioner Block, do you feel informed enough to vote on this application this evening since you were not at the last meeting?
Yes, I did. I read the plans that were submitted with this agenda.
Okay. May I have a second on the motion of the conditions on application 2020-08, 148 Winslow Drive?
A second you asked for?
Yes,
Yeah, I second it.
that was
Second the motion.
Commissioner Bashant.
Yes.
Discussion, final discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, so looks like we have, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor. None opposed, no abstentions. For the record, Ms. Gibbons, do you have that? Because I count myself, Commissioner Paskowitz, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Casasanta, Commissioner Bashant, Commissioner Block, and Commissioner Ancona.
I have that. I'm sorry, I was
All right.
muted.
Commissioner Clark.
Hi, I want to make, because I can't see anybody, I would like to make sure, didn't we seat Mr. Ancona for Mr. Block?
No, we see it from Mr. Lavarriere.
Okay, I'm sorry, then, all right.
Commissioner
I'm
Block is seated, and then.
I knew he was there. So I just want to repeat the people, just so I enter them correctly in our document. So we have seated and voting aye, or Mr. Ancona, Mr. Bashand, Mr. Casasanta, Ms. Clark, Mr. Cedillo, and
Alan.
Alan. Oh, there we go.
1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5,
And Mr. Block.
7. So that should be, I count 7.
That's
Okay,
correct.
again, my apologies. If you were all in front of me, I would be sure. Okay, Ancona, Bashand, Casasanta, Clark, Cedillo, Block, and Paskowitz.
That's correct.
That is 7.
Can you do that?
Okay, that works now. Thank you.
Make it
All
loud.
right.
Outside of the deck.
Make it, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Pitkin. Thank you for your work.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be in touch, Mike.
Thank you,
luck.
Eric. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, moving on to old business, item B, extension request for application 2016-19, 123 Garfield Street, Mill Pond Park, for maintenance of vegetation and installation of concrete pads in the upland review area. Applicant is William DeMayo. Town of Newington, 131 Cedar Street, Newington, Connecticut, 06111. Mr. Hinckley, do we have someone from the Parks Department, or will you represent?
I'm just going to speak tonight. There's no one from Parks. The extension request, as you know, we get those, and by statute, you typically have to grant them. They're asking for the extension request to continue their maintenance along the easterly side of the pond and to complete the installation of I think they're doing one other bench, they just finished it, that was approved on the prior plan. And a little bit of a segue, the map that is up now, you can see, I think there's 8 or 9 little red circles. Those are areas that in the future, the Parks Department would like to install or replace existing benches. Parks is selling these dedicated benches with plaques on them. And so these are the areas that they want to do that in. So they're going to, after the extension, they're actually going to request a modification to modify that permit to include these locations. And someone would be available to speak at next month's meeting on that topic if you so desire, or if you just want me to do it as an agent review. I'm sure the commission wants to hear it, and that's fine. So tonight they're just asking for the extension, and then in the future, I believe at next month's meeting, they will want to talk about modifying and adding these various locations for the installation of benches. I'll try and answer all the questions I can. So if you have any.
So this extension, this is Mr. Chairman, this is speaking, there's no more cutting involved. This extension is purely for adding these extra 8 or 9 benches with slabs to the perimeter of the pond.
No, they want to also include the maintenance issue because they never actually finished what they had started, and they just want to be able to keep and maintain that more open along the easterly side. And as the prior permit required, any cuttings out there, I'm going to meet with the tree warden, the park supervisor, and their forestry guy, and we're going to identify plants that can be completely taken out and removed, and other ones that can just be trimmed to stay. They don't intend on clear cutting the bank. They do just want to make it a little more open.
Okay, so this evening, we would like to see that presentation, but tonight we're just going to grant the extension.
Correct.
And this would be back on old business for the September meeting.
They would be under new business for the modification.
Okay, all right. Do the commissioners have comments at this time?
Yes.
Commissioner Paskowitz.
Who is the representative that you speaking to?
My guess is next month it would be either Clay Pitago, who's the new supervisor of Parks Department, or maybe Mr. DeMayo himself, or both.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Clark.
This may be a silly question, but I assume walking around Mill Pond is not prohibited as a site visit.
No, it's town-owned property. It's public. So you can go there. I would just say, if the commissioners are going to go visit, I would just say, do not go in a quorum. Go in 1s or 2s.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Block.
Yeah, in the past, we've had invasive plants around the margin of the pond. I haven't heard anything about the success of past treatments or the intentions as part of this application.
Invasives would be identified and removed along in the area that the original permit was deemed for, which is from the northerly edge where the 2 paths meet down to the bridge on the southerly end. Nothing on the westerly side at prior permitting was allowed to be cut. So
thank you.
In that area, that's what we'll identify and remove.
Okay.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, John Bashand here. So that the permit was ready to expire or it had already expired?
I believe it expires next year, and they came in the 60-day prior notice to ask for the extension. It was 2016, so yeah, it's going to expire next year.
But they plan on doing the work this year?
They plan on doing some work in the fall or winter, once things calm down and it's easier time to cut in there.
And just to make everyone aware, I'm on the building committee for the Mill Pond Park, so they are planning a considerable project there, but that would be separate. I'm sure we'd have to review some of that at that time, but just wanted to give everyone's heads up on that.
Yeah, if there's anything within the regulated area, that would be reviewed. Yes.
Okay, is there anyone else with a question from the commission?
Yes.
Commissioner Clark?
Yes, hi. I wondered about if we're removing plants, if we will be getting a planting list similar to what our previous applicant provided us, and if they will be contacting any environmental specialists when they make any of these changes.
That's probably a question for them next month. I think their intention is really to clean up the vegetation to make the park more, the pond more accessible and viewable. I don't know if they have any intention of planting new plantings, honestly, because the original permit, again, was just for maintenance. It wasn't for any kind of replanting. So that would be a fair question to ask them next month if they come in.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Hinckley, I think we need to have a motion then for the extension for this,
Yep,
so.
I did not send one to Kathleen, but it would just be a motion to extend the existing permit 2016-19. And it's for, by statute, it's a 9-year extension.
So, Madam Secretary, you want to introduce a motion for the extension?
I'm going to say I will, but I wish I had a copy. If wishes were horses, I wish I had a copy of the original application that we approved. I certainly do not have one. Eric, can you refresh our memory about what, I mean, my memory is, yes, we approved them cutting vegetation on the east side of the pond and nothing on the west side, but now I feel like we're still kind of opening the door, and I have no objection to removing invasives. But again, I'd like to make sure that we're dealing with somebody who can identify these plants. And if we were coming up with this application anew, I would be asking for a planting plan to replace anything that they cut down on the west side.
Well,
So
not,
I'm not going to throw my body in front of all these cut down plants, but again, I feel like I'm making a motion without a strong memory of exactly what it entailed. Can you update me enough that I feel comfortable?
okay,
I have
that's fair.
a comment.
One thing, if I may, I'm sorry, I probably should have included that, the original approval. I think, to be fair, we can table the request for the extension till next month when you hear the modification, just do it all at one time. And I think that would be fair. That way I can get you guys a copy of the original and you guys can go from there. Is that reasonable?
Mr. Chairman,
I have a comment, Alan Paskowitz.
First title, Paskowitz, Commissioner Paskowitz.
Yes, I recall a conversation regarding the cutting of and trimming on the east side. And from my memory, the reasoning behind most of it was so that the public could have a better view of the pond and also access to the pond for fishing and such as recreational use. So planting where things are taken down may not be the view or achievement that the Parks Department is trying to accomplish. From what I remember reading, they want openings in there. That's my comment.
May I amend? I didn't mean about putting any plantings on that side, on the east side. I meant if it's it's determined that everything on the west side is an invasive, just for an example, I'd like a plan in place that those are replaced. So I'm fine with the east side. On the other hand, it would be nice to be open-minded enough that something here or there would be helpful, but that was not what I was talking about. I was talking about replacing something that had to come out because it shouldn't be there in the first place with something that would be more amenable, help to stabilize the bank, and make it be attractive.
Well,
Okay.
my expanding on your comment, which I
Commissioner
fully,
Paskowitch is speaking for the record.
yeah, for
Go
the
ahead.
record, sorry. Expanding on what you're speaking to, I agree with you. I ride a bicycle around there quite frequently, and the west side is fully vegetated on both sides. There has been some work done there. There's actually some signage has been put up. I think it's for possibly poison ivy or poison oak. There needs to be some diminishing in vegetation there. It's very, very heavy. It's overhanging, and sometimes it's even hard to get through there. You're walking. I walk there as well. I'm fully, in advocating for trees and planting, as you know, because I have a background in forestry and I continue to do that. So it's a good comment. I think that maybe I'll further the comment with someone giving us, as you spoke to, some type of plan in writing as to the percentage or the amount that's going to be removed. And I'll leave it with that.
Mr. Chairman?
First, Commissioner Block, I was been waiting. Commissioner Block, you wanted to speak?
It's just that I know that there's invasives around that edge of the pond. I was curious about identifying and removing those as well.
Again, I'm not the Parks Department. My understanding is all they're looking to do is get that permit extended for what was originally approved, which is along the easterly edge. I don't think they're looking to expand it to the westerly side. Those are questions that you can certainly ask them. And this trimming activity was only added to the prior permit because there was some consternation among the commission at that time. The trimming of this stuff is something they can certainly do under general permit 1. The last time this came around, it was a very contentious topic at the time. So, here we are today moving forward. So, they're just asking so they can continue to maintain that easterly side. If I get them here next month, you guys can discuss the west side and possibly modifying the permit to include, the whole pond or whatever you may want to do.
Other than that, I have no objection.
Thank you. Commissioner Bashant.
Yeah, question for Eric. So when did we approve this originally?
2016.
Okay, and now I heard you mention that by statute, the approval is good for 9 years?
Yep. They basically, you get a 14-year permit for wetlands through state statute.
I know that's what TPZ would they tried to modify it for the economy, but I didn't realize that was with wetlands too. So why would they need an extension now if they were already covered for several more years?
Well, it expires next year, so they have to request a permit prior to it expiring. So they're just requesting, they're just trying to, keep their house in order, so to speak. So like I said, I think if you table it tonight and vote on an extension and a modification at next month's meeting, there shouldn't be any issues.
I guess I'm just confused on that, the multiple years that we're talking about, 9 years, 12 years, 14 years, but you said we only just approved it in 16.
Right, for 5 years. So next year it expires. So 60 days prior to expiring, they have to at least ask for the extension by. They're ahead of the 60 days. So, and typically it's a 9-year extension by state statute.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else who wants to ask a question of Eric?
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I see none.
Mr.
We're
Chairman.
going to table this matter for this evening. There's no need to do the extension tonight. I would ask that we definitely have someone from the Parks Department at the meeting. I know their meetings are coincident with ours. So you think that's going to be an issue getting someone in here for the,
Definitely, I'll do my best to get somebody here for, next month.
and please note the concerns about the invasives and the cutting and any other remediation around the perimeter. Obviously, the commissioners are concerned about that, so that they come prepared to discuss that.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Block.
Yeah, if they're coming in, I'd like to hear their suggestions for replacing some of the invasives with a more appropriate water plant.
I'll make them aware.
Thank you.
Yep.
Noted. Okay. All right, item B is tabled till next month. Moving on, once again, into old business, item C, Internal Rules Committee. So where we left this off last month, Mr. Hinckley, we were going to consult with the town attorney on this item relative to revising our internal rules.
Yeah, I actually ran into the town attorney today in the hallway, and he said his opinion is there's no reason to change the internal rules. That's just how he put it. So,
Mr. Chairman, can you repeat that? I didn't hear it.
the town attorney told me today verbally that he saw no reason to change the internal rules for what the commission is asking to do.
I didn't hear your last few words.
Your last
either.
portion came out there, Mr. Hinckley, the last part of your sentence.
Yeah, the town attorney stated that he felt there was no need to change the internal rules.
Now, no need, correct me, Commissioner Bashant, but where did we stand as far as putting a 2-week input when we create the agenda? If someone has some item like to put under communications and reports, if we wanted to put a 2-week prior on that, that would be acceptable, or
Not to me.
not changing it to what extent? For doing what? Commissioner Bashant.
I would just like to clarify on, Eric, if you just bumped into him, I guess I could try to reach out to Mr. Ancona too, but I'm just be curious what he says. I think he's saying that if we want to speak about something like what I've been asking for, that we don't need a change to our rules. Anyone could just speak out at any time. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not certain of that, but we should have an opportunity to bring up a subject that we don't have to put on the agenda 2 weeks prior. That's my opinion. I could be wrong.
May I, as the other person on the committee, I
Commissioner
think,
Clark.
yes, I think, I don't think that's what that opinion would be at all. I don't think that our rules provide for us bringing up a new topic during the meeting.
Yeah, that's correct. Currently, they don't. So if you want to do that, the commission is, the committee should, come up with some idea of what they want and word it and get it in a document. So the commission, you can bring it for the commission for a vote. And then the commission can vote on it. If they decide not to change it, then they stand as they are and we move forward.
But
so
if I may,
Commissioner Bashant first, and then.
So I'm referring to just a very germane topic, and I was walking through the park and I saw something that is germane to the Conservation Commission. I can't imagine why that would need to be determined or prearranged on the agenda.
Well, our agenda is set by our internal rules, and we don't have that area for commissioners to have this exchange currently. So I know some other commissions do, Wetlands doesn't. If they want to change it, again, that's up to you. The town attorney, my interpretation was he didn't feel the need that we needed to do that because he didn't feel the commissioners need to speak about things, I guess. But,
One final thought, please. I'll double check on that, and I don't have a problem if that's where if that's where it is, then we'll take it further from there. But I'll try to reach out to him before the next meeting.
Commissioner Clark.
I'm speaking about the same thing, and I see where John's coming from. In other words, let me just see if where we have a meeting of the minds. He's saying that he finds something that we have never talked about before that has to do with wetlands, inland wetlands, that he feels the commission could discuss. So I guess my question is, again, could you put that under new business by letting you know 2 weeks ahead of time? Do
Yeah,
our
I could
rules
put-
provide for that or no?
I could just put it under communications and reports. If I know what the topic is and who wants
Okay.
to speak about it, yes, it can be inserted, but it would have to really be in the agenda. It's not kind of like a free flow kind of thing where, you know, I speak my mind kind of situation, because I don't think that we don't want to get off on too many tangents.
I sort of, if I'm speaking, Commissioner Clark, is that, you know, and I feel having some sort of preparation, you know, the commissioners know it's coming and it could be a more fruitful discussion that way. No, we know it is appropriate, number one. Number two, the commissioners know, the rest of the commission knows that that's coming and they can provide input to the discussion though. So I think that's why that 2 weeks prior where the agenda is set, the applicant gets 2 weeks. So that's where the 2 weeks comes from, that when we create the agenda, I can poll the commission. If they have something they want to talk about, we get it in writing and that covers it.
And I would be able to, I'd have enough time to research and get some background on any potential issues that may or may not be germane to that topic.
Commissioner Clark.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, because I think what you just said made a lot of sense and still fits within our current regulations. We need the 2 weeks, but if we see something of concern, we can, I'm just reiterating what you just said to see if this is something we can move forward and see if this would satisfy Mr. Bashan's concerns within our rules. So we see a situation and we report that, we tell you and Eric.
Us, me and Eric, yes.
And we say, we would like to put this on our agenda, and the correct place for that to be would be under communications and reports.
Correct.
That's just summarizing from my side of the aisle and making sure that we all know what we're all talking about.
All right, any other comments?
Mr. Casasanta had his hand up. I'm not sure if he's still interested to speak.
Well, John Casasanta here. I'm going to withhold my comment until we actually start debating this. Right now, we're just discussing it, and I don't think the real discussion on this has begun. So, you know, the remarks I'm going to make, I'm going to hold off on for now.
Fair enough. Anyone else?
Here's Mr. Paskowitz has his hands up as well.
Commissioner Paskowitz.
I'm wondering if, since we have an initiative area, that if Commissioner Bashan wants to be part of an initiative in that area, presenting something that's regarding the parts and parcels of wetlands that he has concerns about, that might be an area where he could address in the initiative category.
If I may.
Commissioner Bashan.
Yeah, I'll look into that, and I'll accept the consensus of the commission. I still think that if we're not talking about an application, I still don't see why we're so strict on not being able to speak freely about any germane, you could say mundane item that's out there that we observed 5 minutes before the meeting might have started. But again, I will accept the consensus of the commission, and I will reach out to Mr. Ancona and just to clarify the part that
Yes, sir.
I'm curious about.
Okay, anyone else before we move on? We close this, table this discussion.
John's got
Yes,
his-
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, what was that, Commissioner Casasanta?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. John Casasanta again. Just to address what Mr. Bashan just said, Commissioner Bashan, the problem with what he just said is you never know what might end up coming before us in an application. And if you just start discussing things at random, you run the risk of putting yourself in the position of being accused of prejudging. That's all I'm saying. That's all I want to say for tonight.
Okay,
That's
thank
a
you.
fair statement.
Okay,
Thank you, John.
all right. I think we'll table this discussion for now. And we're gonna move on with the agenda.
Okay.
Moving on to item 7, public participation and non-agenda items. Each speaker online has limited to 2 minutes. James, do we have anyone on the line?
No attendees online, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving on to item 8, communications reports. A, agent communications. Mr. Hinckley, do we have anything to report this month?
Yep, I had one agent approval for a modification of an existing wetland permit at 124 Carriage Hill Drive. They added a deck to their pool in the URA. Today, I just received an application for at 149 Knollwood Road for a gazebo in the URA. So I'll be working on that one. I'm going to move on to the tour of the ponds I did with the town manager. On the 24th of July, I visited the 4 of the town-owned ponds with the town manager to discuss maintenance activities by the Parks Department in those areas. And I relayed to him, currently the Parks Department has that permit for Mill Pond along the easterly edge, and he would like Parks to continue doing that work. And we looked at Star Pond and Beechwood Pond. Both were dry. He does want Parks to go in there and do some cleanup in there for, you know, bicycles, basketballs, goals, lacrosse stuff like that that's in there, and get that stuff out and do really just minor trimming around those 2 ponds. Because they're not super acceptable. And algicide was applied at Mill Pond on the 23rd of July. That's another thing he's looking to control the algae in Mill Pond. He got the aerators are back up and running. The 2 aerators, they're obviously probably way too small to handle that pond to keep all that water moving to stop algae. But they may look in the future of putting in more aerators. I do not know at this point in time. Most of the maintenance activities, we also looked at Churchill Park, which there's really not a whole lot going on there, as we all know. Again, like I discussed earlier, most of the trimming activities we're talking about can all be done under general permit 1, and he'd like to do that. And he recommended that, you know, I meet again with their people when they're working out there, just to do some minor trimming and whatnot and identify things that can and cannot be cut down. So basically these ponds it's mostly cleanup and algae removal. That's his thought. So he just wanted me to relay that information on to you. And again, the things that I've heard discussed from both he and Parks really don't seem like they require a permit. The permit modification that we discussed earlier in the extension, that one, you know, you can ask Parks about at next month's meeting, and if you want to try and include more Mill Pond or whatever questions you have. Along with that, like I also briefly discussed, Parks is selling these commemorative benches and they're putting them on 4x8 concrete pads, which will actually be a little better, because the people that sit on the benches, when they swing their feet, they're not going to kick up and erode all the dirt there. You're not going to have all these bare spots around the benches. They're just going to be on the concrete pads. So they want to add those 8 or 9 other locations. And that would be a modification to the existing permit. And lastly, last week I forwarded to all the commission members the information from the town planner about the public hearing for the removal of the LID regulations from all of the TPZ stuff. And that is on the 26th, next week. At that TPZ meeting will be the public hearing. So if you guys have any questions, concerns, I recommend you attend. Other than that, that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hinckley. Moving on to item B, invasive plants. Commissioner Clark, do you have anything to report?
I'm going to say nothing new other than I certainly plan to take a tour around Mill Pond. It'll be interesting to identify invasive plants and see what invasive plants the Parks and Rec Department comes up with, and finally tackle some invasive plants after all these years.
Okay.
If I may,
Commissioner Bashant.
since this is town property and there's no, other applicant involved, can Kathleen document some of what she finds and share it with us?
That's okay by me. You may just want to I don't know how you're going to document them, or identify them or note them in the field. Maybe just want to check with the Parks Department and say, hey, if I use some kind of flagging or ribbon.
I mean, it would educate me because I don't know all the invasives myself, so.
And neither do, I know quite a few, but I'm certainly, even after going to a bunch of things, I'm no expert, but it would be interesting just to see what's easily identified. I mean, they might all be invasive. Things like autumn olive, and the question is, are they all invasive? And if we give permission to remove all the invasives, will we have a naked bank, which is not necessarily good for erosion? Even an invasive plant has its purpose if it is, holding up a bank. So just throw that out there.
Or habitat.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, for
Commissioner
sure.
Block.
Yes, Kathleen makes a very good point. We shouldn't leave a void on the banks. Along with the identification and suggestion for removal, should also be a suggestion for replanting with appropriate plants.
Okay. Commissioner Block, is that an action for Ms. Clark or is that for the Parks Department?
I would suggest both.
Commissioner Clark, do you acquiesce?
Well, I'm going to say that I think that's such a specialized, that's not as easy to replenish a bank, because you have to dig a hole in the bank, which is going to create a risk of erosion. So I feel that you really need an expert to do that kind of replacement. And I think just taking things out and saying, oh, I'm going to plant a blueberry bush in here, I think that might be very tricky. And just wonder if any of us, including town staff, have the expertise, or if at some point an environmental, the same kind of person we're going to ask an applicant to find might be necessary if it comes to that.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Block.
Yeah, I definitely would like to see invasives and inappropriate plants removed from the bank. Therefore, I agree with Commissioner Clark that we should have perhaps a little bit better expertise as to what and how the removal of those invasives and others should be handled. And along with that should be, I think, some suggestions for replacement.
If I may make a suggestion, I like Kathleen's idea and your number of other commissioners, that maybe Kathleen goes out there and just does a cursory review. So she can say, hey, we have one small area that has invasives, or, the whole, we got half of the bank or whatever. Identify, spot areas that she can identify where there are invasives. And then if we think that, more professional help is needed, then we can discuss with Parks about having someone come in and develop a plan going forward, something along those lines.
If I may add, just a second, if I may add, why don't we send out that map that you showed earlier, and maybe Commissioner Clark can make some notations, A, B, C, D around that perimeter, and maybe she can make some photo essay or some notes. Maybe that'd be a little bit easier. So what do you think about something like that, Commissioner Clark?
I'd give it a try.
Sure.
That
Yeah.
would certainly, that would be helpful, and I'd be interested to look at the area the benches are gonna be. And I will do my best. I mean, there's plan identification things. I think given a month, I should be able to come up with something.
Thank you.
I'd be willing to volunteer if that's not a quorum, if that's allowed of just two of us.
Sure.
I think that's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Bashant.
But if I may
Once
also,
again.
if I may also add
Yes,
or ask, just to clarify or maybe simplify. So originally the application was for the placement of the benches and clearing some of the east side of the embankment, which
Correct.
which actually included clear cutting certain areas so they actually had access for fishing. I don't mean clear cutting the full length, but I mean clearing
No,
out.
there was no clear cutting. It was always the agent went out and identified things with parks that were going to be removed. So we didn't allow any clear cutting. There was
Well, I
just-
mean clearing. I don't mean clear cutting like the
Yeah,
full length of the bank. I mean
correct.
clearing an area here so a kid could fish here. That was one of the reasons. So
Right, but we didn't have them take out good stuff just because they wanted a hole there. We worked with the existing areas and enhanced those if they could be. And we cut stuff down, but not out.
so there's still no plan to remove anything completely.
No, there was no.
Oh, okay. I thought that
Nope.
there was trying to open up a hole there that you
No,
could
no,
actually.
No, they were just working with the existing areas that had openings, and if they could widen them because there were invasive plants or stuff like that that were cut down and removed at the time, that's how they did that, and they cut them down height-wise in a couple locations, but otherwise, everything pretty much stayed. It was not a wholesale butchering of that.
No,
eastern-
I wasn't suggesting that. I mean,
I
I
understand.
meant strictly opening holes. So you're saying that no roots or stumps were removed of any of the things that they trimmed?
No.
Or that's still not even the plan, even on invasives?
The stumps and stuff, it was never discussed at the time because prior commission was very touchy about
Okay.
doing work around the pond.
Yeah, I understand. So, but what I was getting at is, can we expand on that? I mean, we'll wait to see what we come up with by looking.
I mean,
but
yeah, I
I'm
think-
saying, but we can't force the Parks Department, or can we force them to do what else we think should be done on the other side, let's say?
I
would
don't
think
think you
not,
can,
but-
I don't think you can force them, no.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's what I was getting at.
Commissioner
I'm-
Clark.
I just want to say that my memory is the same as Mr. Bashan's memory, and again, that's why it would be nice to see a copy of that now, because I remember giving permission to do what they wanted on the east and don't touch the west. That's my walk away from it. So I'm glad to hear it was more muted, but I thought it was difficult for them to do any of the work over the last few years because the pond never froze or may never freeze again.
Mr. Chairman,
Who's speaking?
so it's James.
Who was that?
James,
James, yes.
would you like me to put up the minutes for the motion that was made from that meeting?
I think we're gonna send that out after the fact, right, Eric? I think we can relook at that prior.
I will send that COA, the certificate of action, I will send that out on Monday to you guys.
Thank you. And may I also say, I'd love to see the discussion that took place at that meeting as well. I think that's a great idea, if that's in fact what James was suggesting.
Yep, I can send the minutes as well.
Thank you. Great.
Okay, if there's nothing else on invasive plants, moving on to item 8C, vernal pools. Commissioner Paskowitz, do you have anything to report this month?
Well, not to report, but I did read the minutes, even though I was not at the last meeting, regarding the regulation amendments and additions for vernal pools. And in the minutes, from my memory, I read that Eric asked if anyone had read the changes that were redlined, and there was no comments that I could see. So we need to move forward on that, and I'd like to know when persons would be reviewing those so that we could bring it forth to the appropriate council for their review itself. Eric?
It's really up to you guys. You guys,
Yeah.
I sent out the red line copies to everybody a couple months ago, so you all should have them. So it's a matter of you guys reading them and taking action. That's why it's on the agenda, so.
So are there any comments from the commissioners relative to reviewing those revisions on the vernal pools? Commissioner Clark?
I'll say at the time I read them and I thought they looked acceptable. But it's been a while, so I'd have to dig them out and look at them again.
Well, maybe I'll recommend that you guys all take this month to look at them, and you can have a better discussion next month, and then we can incorporate them into the regs and get them ready to go through the process of getting them approved by council.
Is there any way you could send those again? Excuse me, John Bashan. Is there any way you could send those again, Eric, or?
Yeah, it'll be on Monday.
All right, thank you.
So to the rest of the commissioners, you feel comfortable one more month and at the September meeting, adding comments? Obviously, we're looking for feedback. Otherwise, before the meeting would be optimum, so we can do the revision before the meeting or discuss it in advance. A rebuttal if necessary, and move forward as Commissioner Pasquich has requested. What are the other comments? That seem fair?
I could hear a cricket.
Like they
Beautifully
say.
timed.
Yeah.
That's in my
That
yard. I'm
sounds
sitting
great.
under my maple tree.
Yeah, it sounds good, and we can review them, and if we have a serious matter issue, we'll send it to the chairman and to Eric. Is that what you were
Alan as well.
suggesting? Yeah.
We're,
What's that?
remember, we had a subcommittee going, me,
Oh, okay,
Chairman and
yeah.
Commissioner Pasquich we're
All
tag
right.
team this.
Okay.
So let's be sure, maybe put that on their old business, Eric, instead of his communications and reports. Do we want to have a discussion on, let's upgrade that, escalate that a little bit higher for old business for September?
You got it.
Commissioner Pasquich, you satisfied with that?
Yes, thank you. And I hope the members have time, now that the heat wave is over, especially to take a few moments and read it piece by piece. There's quite a bit there. And I don't expect anybody to do it in one sitting. Maybe chip it out a little bit at a time. And hopefully in a month, we can have some comments back. And if there's no negative to it, then we can move forward with it.
Right, does anyone else want to comment on vernal pools? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn. Motion provided by Commissioner Clark.
I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Do I have a second?
Second. John
Second
Bashan.
from Commissioner Block. I'll give it Commissioner Block.
Okay.
Okay,
All in
thank you.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Have a good
Good night,
month. Have a nice evening.
Good night, all.
Thank
You
you.
as well. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Aye.